Hello there. Oh yeah, baby, I'm back in the saddle. 2 days in a row. Yay! So I just want to encourage you in the life of Jesus, available by His Spirit, yours for the asking. Complete alignment with Creator God, Father, Mother, Lover, Giver of all good things. Oh yeah, baby. In fact, if I was going to encourage you on something, the first thing that comes to mind is that, of course, God is good, right? So anything in your life that is creating positive growth, and when I mean that, when I say that, I mean things like being more loving, being more attentive, being more patient, being more giving, being more helpful, being more creative. All of that comes from God. So just relax yourself. I think people, especially fundamentalist Christians, are just way too anxious about their obedience, that they think they're like going to lose their relationship with God if they don't, make constant decisions that are good for them. We're going to make mistakes. And you make those mistakes with God. You don't make them and then go back to report to God and say, oh, I have to let you know I was there. God's like, I was with you. Who do you think you're talking to? I'm with you forever. So if you just kind of take that burden off yourself, then I think you'll find you'll be in a better position to make your choices, because instead of fearing making the wrong choice, you make a decision to make the right choice, and God will assist you in that, and quite often in ways that don't align with your traditional upbringing, or certainly a literal translation of the Bible, which I mean, I'm laughing because it's ridiculous, but it's not funny when we have genocide going on every day in the Middle East because of the U.S.'s support of Israel, in the state of Israel having nothing to do with the nation of Israel and the Bible, but has everything to do with exploitation, manipulation, power, just the devastation that's occurred in Palestine. It's just, in Lebanon, it's just, I don't want to get into it, but that's clearly not God. But yet people will swear that it is, because they think the Israel in the Bible is the Israel that's bombing innocent women and children. And it just is not the case. And the reason they make the case is because in the Bible, God is presented as, in some cases, advocating killing every man, woman, and child. So that's why they feel confident in their atrocious actions. But that, I don't want to get into that. It just makes me crazy to even think about it. But what I did want to talk about is another. I mean, you really can't get away from it. As long as you're living in this life, you're going to be confronted with the problem of violence, right? If there was no problem of violence, then Jesus wouldn't have been crucified. So there's always this problem of violence that we have to stand against and learn by the presence of God how to let the goodness of God in us stand against and bring down the strongholds of violence in the world. And even in, it doesn't have to be genocidal to be violence, right? It can just be bullying in the gym. And I recently got into it with this guy on Facebook because he doesn't understand the dangers of toxic masculinity, and he thinks the term is overused and is irrelevant to, the intimidation that goes on in a lot of gyms. And I just had to bring it to his attention. It's absolutely toxic masculinity. Because they were talking about, how there's these guys at the gym who, they think that they own the place because they're bigger, and they're devoted to lifting, and so they're the top dogs or whatever. And the conversation was about being annoyed by beginners because they're in the way of those who act like they own the gym. How is that not toxic masculinity? That's exactly what it is. You've got like this bullying attitude, like you're in charge, and who's this guy? He doesn't even know how to lift, and blah blah blah, and might be making fun of somebody or whatever. I mean, somebody's just beginning. So that's violence. That's when you're bringing that attitude into an environment that's a hostile environment, and it's because of toxic masculinity. And then when people say, "Oh, it's not that," then I wonder, well, how much are you who are resisting that label or that identification? How much are you causing intimidation in the gym or wherever you are? Everything's about, you competing and being the best, and, letting other people know that you're the best, and how much do you bench? And it's like, what? Does any of that sound like God to you? No. So that I was just trying to make a point there that it's that attitude of domination and intimidation that goes from the gym all the way through, your relationships, your jobs, and then sometimes if your job is political and attached to the military, then you're going to try to make the point that you are the best because you have the most military capability, and then what good is it to have it unless to use it, and use it unnecessarily against innocent people, and then call it God's intervention because you aligned it with some fairy tale in the Bible. And so I always bring attention to this because I've studied the Bible my whole life. I've been a Christian for most of my life, about 50 years now. And 25% of the Bible will absolutely change your life for the good, for the better, by the presence of the Spirit of God through Jesus and being compassionate and loving and just courageous. And the other 75% is the fake God who thinks maiming children and abusing innocent people is God's will.